Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Check out my comic books, Big Baby and STARCRASHER at KINGCOMICS.CA. Today is episode 519 of BBR, guys. It is Jack Kirby Day. We're taking a look at Superman's Pal, the new Jimmy Olsen issue number 143. November 1971 is when this came out. And this is a part 2 of the last review we did on Kirby Day with the introduction of the man from Transylvania, right? The Dracula, the version of Dracula that Jack Kirby introduced here, the Wolfman as well, last issue. And in this issue, we're going to get familiar a little bit with one of his versions of Frankenstein, at least in this issue, the Mummy, and others that are kind of nondescript and not worth mentioning. So I don't know why I'm mentioning them. This is just a weird storyline, guys. It really is. I'm always into the weird Kirby stuff for sure, but it almost feels like sometimes when he runs out of ideas, he'll just kind of take stuff and make it a little bit derivative of his favorite movies and stuff. You know, movies were clearly a huge influence to him for some story concepts, and sometimes they're more obvious than others. And here it's just a really weird one inherently. And as I go through, I'll try to explain real quick as we talk about the artwork, what's going on exactly. And it's a continuation from last issue. So hopefully we get a few answers, but not that many, I got to be honest. And we'll finally understand the name of the title, The Genocide Spray. How would you like to see the smallest planet on Earth? That's a kind of a weird concept in 1971. Pretty cool cover. Just real quick, I do like the color holds they were doing on some of these Kirby covers in the 70s. The green is kind of fitting for the monsters. Something kind of vintagey and cool about it that really screams 70s. And it seems like DC did not fuck with either Jimmy Olsen or Superman on this one, maybe because their heads are turned. I've talked about my theory how Kirby, because he realized DC was doing that, would do shots where Superman is far off in the distance into the background or from the back. So maybe, again, you know, they were like, if it's a back 3/4 kind of view, just leave it alone. I don't feel these have been fiddled with too much. And I'm wondering if this is Mark Royer inking this cover. I don't feel like it's Coletta, and these telltale kind of squiggly lines on Superman are really making me miss seeing a version of Superman in this comic drawn purely by Kirby. Even the feathering they change, and it's just horrible. Yeah. So this is from continuing on from last issue where he's doing his old trick as well visually, where he's giving us a splash page, right? So just a different angled view from what we saw last issue with the planet in the foreground, right? The smallest planet on Earth is this one here. And again, this is pretty much a repeat of the last shot in last issue as well. Just a nice double page spread, right? Kirby doing his splash, double splash combo. And I mean, what a cool image. Mostly textural work, right? With the smoke and the actual planet with the horns. That's funny. And then those floating cameras all around. Just such an odd concept again, and so off the wall. It feels like it's connected to something Kirby may have read. Once again, it's Scientific American. He was always up on his science, and that was one of the big science magazines, National Geographic as well, right? Well, National Geographic specifically for cultures and new discoveries around the world, not specifically science, but anyways, the more human aspect, sociology, I guess, is what you'd call that. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. So back to the story here. Just the oddball element of the floating cameras is just so weird, and it's explained here because, you know, Jimmy Olsen says maybe those orbiting cameras have something to do with that. And then what's discovered is that basically, well, I'll read it, right? Superman's personal guess, and I mean, this is a very educated guess, and Superman's a smart guy, clearly, because I think that's basically what's going on. That's how Kirby's trying to get it across to us. My personal guess about those orbiting machines is that they're not cameras, they're movie projectors, Jimmy. You mean those things project movies onto the surface of the planet? You mean that planet is being used as a movie screen? Not its surface, but images could be projected on its skies or clouds. Yes, movie images acting out their plotted destinies on the skies of a world. And those movies have an audience, the watchers native to that world. So like Count Dragarin, right, the man from Transylvania, and the Wolfman. So Superman says, yes, exactly. And again, just to see Superman and Jimmy Olsen in this kind of mythic kind of Kirby setting is always a bit weird and off-putting, even more so when they change the faces, right? But so what he's saying is that basically on this smaller planet, you know, they're projecting images from the classic movie monsters onto their skies, and those characters are being inspired by those images and becoming the characters that they see. So that's what the man from Transylvania is. Just such a weird concept. Great shot. I love, again, the design works overall. I've talked about, here's another one where it doesn't look like he's got a mustache, and I think this is his look that works. But whoever the colorist who decided to throw in this garish kind of, you know, red lips like the Joker kind of from the Cesar Romero version or something. Like just bad makeup kind of applied, bad lipstick. Just not a great idea. And I mean, the Wolfman really seems like, again, the Wolfman from the movies, right? It almost looks like this was slightly photo referenced by Kirby. And in comes Frankenstein. So yeah, just a more kind of derivative is the word I was looking for earlier, kind of storyline and characters involved, that I wonder if just Kirby falls back on that when he doesn't really have that much of an idea of what to do in the issue. And maybe he gets bored of this whole thing, right? This whole storyline, and then boom, you know, as little as we had of the Newsboy Legion in past issues and just a few pages almost in passing to remind us that they were there, and check out my last reviews for that. Now we jump in kind of full bore back to the Newsboy Legion. So they've just magically after coming out of the water and finding a way out of the sewers, come up into some bunker where one of these intergang members is clearly, you know, admitting that he killed Roy Harper. I think that's his name. The Guardian, basically, who is the Newsboys Legion's kind of steward, right? So quite a coincidence. They confront him, and interestingly, as they're confronting him here, you know, suddenly the killer lashes out. Great shot, but man, what does he do? He kicks the table and everyone's surprised, and just, I love the drawing, but what's actually going on is just kind of bonkers, I guess. We get the 1 point perspective shot. We'll get another one. I just point those out because I just like the dynamism of it here. You know, the fact that it's tilted, it's pretty extreme. The way the character's foreshortened in that shot, I think works really well. And yeah, so we get them all in one panel here. And like, again, I do feel like he's looking at some photo reference from most of them here, in this shot specifically. Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, the Mummy. This is hilarious to threaten Superman with, right? Kind of a horizontal Iron Maiden, I guess. Superman just smashes out of it, right? And they kind of just come to a truce here where they just realize, you know, we're not specifically at odds with each other here. Dracula, or Dragulon, or whatever his name is, the man from Transylvania is all I can remember, is miscolored here. So again, another shot where I don't think he's trying to imply he's got a mustache. So even without, you know, I hate that his skin isn't white, but now we don't get the lipstick. So again, I kind of like that design, and I think it works. Kind of looks like, oh man, I forget his name. Max something. I'm not quite sure. He's the Inhumans, Black Bolt's brother. Very similar design and hairdo. So Superman gets digging here because he's thinking that's, you know, this is all organic, but it's actually some sort of science experiment is basically what it ends up happening here. Back to the Newsboy Legion after the explosion. Well, the man that they were running after, who apparently had murdered their mentor, is dead. I love this kind of symbolic visualization, representation of death, right? Not showing the dead body, but just the hand in the rubble. Kind of says enough and doesn't have to get too graphic. Good storytelling sense from Kirby. And then it just goes absolutely bonkers here with the storyline and all these concepts. It's crazy. It's like Kirby just, as he encounters these concepts, throws them into the story. And this just makes for a really slightly confusing, but just way out there and surreal issue. So Superman, after pulling at what he thinks is rock and organic rubble, discovers a room full of technology. This shot here is wild. And once again, Superman, his head is turned. So we get the full kind of Kirby movement. Not quite as cool as on the cover because it's inked by Coletta, but this is the one title that'll keep being inked by him. Can't wait to get on to more of those other Fourth World books and talk about the inking by Mike Royer, which is, you know, top notch. Love this. The shadows here, the squiggly shadows of the machines that Kirby throws in on top of Superman's figure in this background. These pages here, just aesthetically, I love it. It's got all those crazy Kirby textures that I like. So there's a demon dog all of a sudden that the scientist has left behind to now apply the genocide spray, which is meant to kill, you know, the denizens of this smallest of all planets. Like, where he's getting this and putting it all together is just way past me. Just I don't think any normal writer would come up with a storyline. And again, it's a bit disjointed, but it's a lot of fun. There's great visuals, and it still kind of just always has that Kirby energy and weirdness that I like. Like, this issue is just very weird. It's got a lot of that. Yeah, so the Devil Dog was just basically a tool to spray this genocide spray. Crazy. Oh man, the Superman just doesn't work. Right, the redraw. Jesus. And so Superman's like, okay, so what do we got to do for this planet? This is just the weird ending to the story. What we got to do to this planet is, instead of projecting horror movies, we got to project the best of us, right? Or like, what we would want a model society to be. Now, I don't know about this movie. It's too old for me. Maybe, Kirby, it was current for him when he's a bit younger. I think even in the 70s, this was probably old enough, but right. Let me read this a bit. Okay. So they realize they can become anything they wish. Too bad they're conditioned to Donovan's implanted horror culture, right? The horror movies. It's not too late to help them lead a more desirable life. I've had an idea and I've carried it out. I've rummaged through Donovan's film library and put some new reels into this prime machine which feeds his orbiting projectors. So douse the house lights and pull up a chair, Jimmy. Like the people of Transylvania, we're going to watch a new movie. Dracula's people could sure use a little lighter side to their lives. So here we go. As the lights are dimmed, our two famous first nighters prepare to view the movie that will change the lifestyle of a planet. So this is the movie they choose to influence society, and turn them into that. I'll bet they take real fine to good music, some singing and dancing. I agree. That's why I chose the only musical Donovan had. A solid smash hit whenever it's played. Oklahoma. Yeah. I don't know. I have never seen Oklahoma. I'm not exactly sure what it's about, but obviously it's probably some sort of kind of, full of Americana kind of movie. But just a funny choice and a funny storyline from Kirby in this one here. Just really weird. Get a quick sequence here where they talk about strange stories of the DNA project. Maybe the first time they actually cloned an alien and how, badly it went. Basically what ended up happening is it exploded, I believe. Yeah, here. Then in the last terrifying burst of body energy, the alien caused an aurora effect that could be seen for miles, almost like a nuclear bomb, right? And the silhouette that's left there. So a little bit of backstory on the DNA project in kind of more of a addendum kind of format, or maybe more of an old school kind of layout, right? Almost feels like it's from the 50s or the 60s rather than the 70s once again. Interesting. And then we get a bunch more pages of the Newsboy Legion from back in the Golden Age. Again, badly printed. I've talked about this, so fun to look at real quick. Kirby was really abusing that circular panel back then. I guess it was a thing. I don't think he was the only one. But yeah. These just thrown in as a second thought because, they don't have to pay for more production with these reprints, right? And they can charge more for the book, is what they did back in the day. Raise the prices of these DC titles. There you go, guys. That is my review of Superman's Pal, the new Jimmy Olsen, issue number 143. If you're still watching and you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching but you're not subscribed, please do so below. It only takes a quick second for you, and it really helps the channel out, helps us grow, helps get us out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. Speaking of comic books, you can check out mine, Big Baby, and STARCRASHER at KingComics.CA. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have yourselves an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents STARCRASHER one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like! Subscribe!